Hello, Reg Kelly, Table in the Wilderness. We're going to talk today about home education, the dumbest question you'll ever ask about home education. A lot of American people are getting an opportunity right now to see what it might be like to home educate. Let me say, first of all, my wife, she educated our 6 children. Our church has a Christian school, and a lot of our families in our church are home education families, so we kind of have a combination of both. And over the years, there's been times when some of our children would go to school, especially if it was in a special subject that we felt they needed the extra emphasis on or the extra help on. But let me say, first of all, that as far as tomorrow's services, as far as we know right now, we're going to have services. I am recommending that if you have small children or you're elderly or sick or just have reservations about it, you might want to stay home and watch it on live broadcast. That's libertyfaith.net. And 9:45 we'll be having Bible class, and of course about 11 o'clock preaching. But stay at home if you like, come if you like. The governor has given a church exemption as far as the public gatherings together. But don't let anybody make you feel bad if you do come, and don't let anybody make you feel bad if you don't come. I believe in personal responsibility. And for meat, destroy not thy brother. There's some things that is not worth fussing and arguing over. And so just anyway, that's what's going to happen tomorrow. We are having services at Liberty Faith Church tomorrow. And you're welcome to join us online. But anyway, let's talk about home education. And pretty soon I'm going to get to the dumbest question you'll ever ask about home education. But I have somewhat, I feel, of a platform or perspective or authority to talk about home education. We did it with our 6 children, been around a lot of home families and been involved in much of it. So, and first thing I want to say to you is that if you home educate, it takes discipline. It takes discipline. The worst thing in the world to do, and there's some bad apples out there, people who have home educated and they don't discipline and they don't do the job. And my wife, whenever our children were home and educating, we got up in the morning, and if we had chores to do, we went and done our chores, and just like other people that might go to government school. But then they would hit their books. Now, I'm going to tell you something. We could be in the books usually by 7 o'clock or even earlier sometimes, and those kids would have a lot of their work done by 10, 11, and most of the time for sure by 12 o'clock noon, their academic works. We had 5 basic levels of or areas of English, math, social studies, science, and so forth. But it takes discipline and it takes structure, and you've got to have a place in your home, and you've got to have a time, and you've got to have discipline. You can't have donkeying around. My kids, I told them, this is the way it's going to be. You're going to get your work done, or you're going to get a whooping. And let's just make it easy and get on down the road. And you don't give your mother a hard time. If I ever see you looking disrespectful, talking disrespectful to her, well, you're going to be in trouble with Daddy. Now, the Bible teaches that the father is to be the one who delegates who is to educate the children. The last verse in the Bible, in the Old Testament says, "And he shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to the father, lest he come and smite the earth with a curse." That's the last verse in the Old Testament. And it's a great warning, but it's also a great encouragement that God wants parents to turn their hearts to their children. And that parents are responsible for the hearts of their children. So the number one, it takes discipline in home education. And number 2, I would start early, and I would get at it early, and I would have it structured. Have it line out what you're going to do. This is what we're going to study. And we did ACE mostly, Accelerated Christian Education. I like ACE. For one of the great things about it is that it develops personal responsibility to do your own testing. It has built-in checks and balance systems that catches you if you try to cheat and lie on your scoring. And you self-score, and then you get to your final test, of course, your teacher checks it and so forth. But it's very structured, very that way, and it's tough. It's not easy, but you need structure, and you need scheduling. And we always did not always, but most of our life, we've done 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, and you can get all the academic in that you need to in those 4 days if you'll just get at it and it won't be playing and piddling around. And of course, kids need break, and they need attention, and they need help and so forth. Now, one of the big things home education can do is you need to get out of your box about education. That's the biggest thing that I love about home education. Let me give you an illustration about teaching math. A mother can take her children into the kitchen and use measuring cups, and in preparing a meal or baking a cake or cookies, whatever, and can teach those kids fractions in a very real and meaningful way, and in a way that makes them understand, I need to learn how to do this. She can do that. And if fathers you out working with your whatever it might be, if you'll think, there's all kinds of ways to teach in real life learning experiences, and that's one of the great things that we did. Whenever my kids were little, especially the boys, I'd say, boys, I'm going so and so place this afternoon. If you get your schoolwork done, you can go with me. And man, they'd work and get their schoolwork done. A lot of times they got to travel with me, and they got to go places, meet people, experience things that they would have never got to experience in real life learning had they not been home educated. Then another thing, let me just say, home education is not for everybody. There are some people that could be that, both parents have to work or are working and just can't do it. There could be that neither one of the parents just honestly don't have the built-in discipline or the ability to teach their children. Although I'd say that's a very rare case, I really believe with all my heart anybody who truly wants to can. There's so much out there, especially now in our days of technology and internet and so forth, and the curriculums. There's just vast amounts of curriculum and study programs that can be used and to help parents in teaching their children. It's amazing. Unless you've studied it out and checked it out and searched it, you don't know. So, but it isn't for everybody. If a person is not going to be disciplined, you're not going to be structured, and you're not going to be diligent to make sure your children's education, you have no business home educating. I'll be the first one to tell you that. And it really bothers me to see people home educate and don't do the job, and the kids just piddling off and not learning. Now, let me say this to you in home education. The very first thing needs to be the learning of the alphabet and learning to read through phonetical reading, through phonics. And we used a program called the ABCs at ACE, and it had all the animals and all the sounds. And if you can get that child through that ABCs at ACE or other phonetic programs, okay, not just ACE, but a phonetical program, your child can learn on his own because that child can read. You can't stop him. And if you develop a love for reading and he learns to read and it's not hard for him to read, then but if you don't get that, they're going to struggle their entire educational process and actually their entire life. So the foundational thing I would say if you're thinking about home education is make sure that child can read. And I'm going to make a suggestion to you. I don't care if your child is 10 or 12 years old and they haven't learned phonics and learned how to look at a word and phonetically pronounce it and figure it out. I'd put them back in a private phonics reading training program and teach them how to read. Don't make their life miserable by trying to read when they can't read, and here they are in the 9th and 10th and 11th grade, and they've never learned how honestly to read. It makes life miserable, and so phonetic and reading is very important, parents. Get that done. The rest of it will be a lot easier. Well, let me say further, it takes sacrifice. Mama, you may not be able to go out and do your career, vocational thing that you wanted to do, but there's nothing more important than your children. And I would say to you that most homeschool parents I know wouldn't trade. See, there's something you can't steal from me. The devil can't steal from me. Nobody can steal from me. All of those years of our 6 children being at home with us and working with us and being involved in our business and everything, it was the greatest thing in the world. My life has been so enriched by home education, you would not believe it. And you can't take that away from me. All the time I got to spend with my kids and all the experiences that we got to experience together. But it takes sacrifice, and it may be, Daddy, that you may not be able to do something that you wanted to do. I don't know what your particular situation, but we're not cookies coming off of a cookie cut machine. Your home and your life and so forth can be very unique, and God can lead you and direct you in that. Then here's the I'll get a couple of things. Here's the curriculum and the technology. I would really encourage you to study that. There's many wonderful home education curriculum programs out there. It's amazing. And I'm telling you, it is unreal, and especially now with all of your technology. It is crazy what can go on. So I'd encourage you to look at that. Somebody says, well, Reggie, what about diploma and going to higher learning? Well, there's a few places that they hate home educators, and because we're threatening their money and their power and control over everybody. But but other than that, most colleges will take a home education student that fast because they know usually they're way on beyond the average child that's going to come in. Now, as far as diplomas go, you can give a diploma to anybody, but I would ask you, if you have a high school diploma from a government school, how many times have you been asked for that diploma when it came to getting a job? No, you know what they want to know? They want to know, your college even wants to know your test scores. They don't ask you about your diploma. They want to know, give me your test scores. And what they want to know is what you know. What skills do you have? They don't want to know if you got a piece of paper. They want to know what can you do? What do you know? And so curriculum technology is a wonderful thing right now in higher learning, your test scores and so forth. You don't have no problem. Home education kids are going everywhere into all kinds of realms of life. And, if you're getting into higher deals like medicine, and so forth like that. But here's a big one I want to give you. And this is apprenticeship. Now, we had, as I told you earlier, 4 days a week. But what we did on Fridays a lot was we apprenticeshiped our children out. We would have them to go work with a plumber, maybe an electrician, a carpenter, a house builder, various things. And the apprenticeship used to be the way Americans learned. And I'm telling you right now, one of the greatest things you'll do is, if you're a home educator, is apprenticeship with trusted people and ask them, can my child work with you to learn how to wire a house, learn how to plumb a house, learn how to build a house? Can my child apprentice with you at the attorney's office? Can he shadow you at the doctor's office and the dentist office? And there's so many areas, and most of those people are very gracious and very happy to have someone who's willing to come and work, not just stand around, but who will come and work and be helpful and be a servant to those people while learning information and maybe also learning the trade. And that has to do with any issue in any trade of life. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. Now I'm going to get back finally to the dumbest question you'll ever ask about home education. This. Well, how are they going to get socialized? Have you ever heard that? How are they going to get socialized? Let me tell you who's not getting socialized, and that's children in government schools. They're not learning how to relate to the general public, to people in business, learning how to respond to business situations, adults, various people of different ages, the elderly. They're being grouped into a school situation and being bound into that. They're not being taught biblical, especially biblical socialization. And, if you can relate to your own mom and dad, you're doing pretty good. If your brothers and sisters are your best friends, you're not doing too bad. And so I just want to tell you, socialization, our kids probably got way too much socialization. But again, if you'll get them out into apprenticeship programs, and then let me finally say, as far as sports goes, there's all kinds of sports teams out here on everything and everything you can imagine that you can get involved in. There's field trips, and there's groups and organizations and music and art, and you name it, it's out there. And there's groups and things that you can get involved with and become involved with. It's a great life. It really is. It takes sacrifice, takes discipline, all those kind of things. But as far as the dumbest question you'll ever ask about home education is, well, how are they going to get socialized? That's dumb. Now, I know you got a few people that out here that's like, oh, we're going to keep our kids away from everybody and we don't let them go to. No, we don't believe in that. I don't believe in it. Never have believed in that. I believe in separation. We're in this world, but we're not of this world. I don't have to stop at the beer joint just because the beer joint's along the road. You follow me? And but socialization is not an issue if you'll just use some sense and get them out there and in the world and get them exposed to work and people and so forth. They'll get all the socialization that they need. The fact of it is, there's a lot of socialization kids are getting that they don't need. It's unbiblical, evil, wicked, ungodly socialization. And the biggest thing is that you've never lived till you bowed and prayed with your own child over that work and struggling in that study, and man, the things that can happen, and this fellowship and the unity and the so forth that God gives. This, Reg Kelly, I could go on and on about. It's one of my favorite subjects is home education. Karen and I feel that we were very blessed to be kind of in the pioneer era of home education. Some people still think you're a fanatic, that you're crazy, that you're an off the wall, you're weird or something like that. No, we just discovered something that most of the world does not want you to discover, and that is that yes, it's a challenge, and yes, it can be tough. But life is a challenge. Life is tough. But home education can be one of the most blessed, things that'll you'll ever experience in your life. And I'm telling you right now, I'm 66 years old, 6 children, and I look back and I'm so grateful that God led us into that. And so hope that you'll explore that during this time and consider it. You don't know the blessings God will have for you. Now the devil will fight you, and he'll fight you hard. And you got to understand some spiritual warfare. But anyway, time's gotten away from me. I hope this might help some of you that are looking at right now home education. Until next time, so long. Thanks for listening.